Something is happening inside millions of people's mouths right now, and most of them have no idea it is connected to their heart, their brain, and their immune system. Not their teeth, their gums. And after the age of 60, the warning signs your gums are trying to send you become more urgent, more meaningful, and far more dangerous to ignore than most doctors ever take the time to explain. Here is what concerns me. Most people, when they notice something changing in their gums, assume it is a dental problem. They think, I need to floss more, or maybe I should switch my toothpaste. They make an appointment with their dentist, or, more often, they put it off for months. What almost nobody tells you is that your gums are one of the most sensitive early warning systems in your entire body. When they start changing color, pulling back, bleeding, or swelling, they are often reacting to something happening deep inside you, something nutritional, something systemic, something that, if caught early, can be corrected, and if ignored, can quietly set the stage for much more serious conditions. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly which gum changes to watch for, what nutrient deficiencies they are pointing to, and the practical steps you can take starting this week. Stay with me, because the connection I am going to show you toward the end of this video is one that even many physicians overlook entirely. My name is Dr. Adam. I have spent decades helping adults over 60 understand what their bodies are trying to tell them before small warning signs become serious medical events. I am not here to alarm you unnecessarily. I am here because I believe you deserve information that is honest, specific, and actually useful. So let us get into it. Let me start with something that might surprise you. Your gum tissue is one of the fastest renewing tissues in your entire body. Under ideal conditions, gum tissue regenerates and repairs itself constantly. But that process depends entirely on the nutrients your body has available to do the work. When key vitamins and minerals fall below optimal levels, your gums are often the first place that deficiency becomes visible. Think of them as a window into your nutritional status. And after 60, that window becomes even more important because your body's ability to absorb certain nutrients from food begins to decline naturally with age. Now I want to tell you about a patient of mine. Her name was Margaret. She was 67, a retired schoolteacher from a small town in the Midwest, a careful woman, health-conscious, ate well by most standards. She came to me not because of her gums specifically, but because she had been feeling unusually tired for about 4 months. During our conversation, almost as an aside, she mentioned that her gums had been looking a little pale lately, and that they bled almost every time she brushed. She said her dentist told her to be more careful with brushing. She accepted that and moved on. But when I ran a full nutritional panel on Margaret, what we found told a completely different story. And what we were able to do for her over the following 12 weeks changed how she felt entirely. I will come back to Margaret later, because what happened with her is important. Let us talk about the first gum change that deserves your attention. Pale or whitish gum tissue. Healthy gums have a consistent pinkish color. That color comes from healthy blood circulation and adequate red blood cell production. When your gums begin looking pale, almost washed out, that is often your body's way of showing you that something is off with your blood. The nutrient most commonly linked to this change is iron. Iron deficiency is far more common in older adults than most people realize, and it does not always show up in ways that are obvious. You might feel tired, yes, but many people attribute that to aging and never investigate further. Here is why this matters so much after 60. As we age, the stomach produces less acid, and stomach acid is essential for absorbing iron from food. So, even if you are eating iron-rich foods, your body may not be absorbing enough of what you are eating. Add to that the fact that many older adults are on medications that further reduce stomach acid, and you have a situation where deficiency can develop quietly over a period of years, without anyone connecting the dots. When iron drops low enough, the body begins prioritizing where it sends what little it has. Gum tissue is not at the top of that list. The result is pale, fragile gum tissue that does not heal well, and that can become a gateway for infection. Have you noticed any paleness in your gum color recently? It is worth paying attention to. Now here is something most people miss completely. Pale gums combined with fatigue and shortness of breath can sometimes point not just to iron deficiency, but to vitamin B12 deficiency. And B12 deficiency after 60 is extremely common. In fact, some estimates suggest that anywhere from 10 to 30% of adults over 60 have some degree of B12 insufficiency. The reason is the same. Reduced stomach acid means reduced production of something called intrinsic factor, which is the protein your gut needs to absorb B12 from food. Without enough B12, your body cannot produce healthy red blood cells. And without healthy red blood cells circulating through your gum tissue, you will start to see that pale, almost bluish-white discoloration that should not be there. The practical takeaway here is straightforward. If your gums look pale and you have been feeling tired, do not simply accept that as a normal part of aging. Ask your doctor to check your iron levels and your B12 levels. A simple blood test can give you answers that years of fatigue and guessing cannot. But pale gums are only one piece of the picture. Let us move on to another change that I see far too often, and one that carries a warning many people receive but do not fully understand: bleeding gums. Now, I know what you are thinking. Everyone says bleeding gums mean you need to floss more. And while poor oral hygiene certainly plays a role, I want you to understand that bleeding gums that persist, that bleed easily, that bleed without significant provocation, are often your body telling you it is running low on vitamin C. This is where things get interesting, because most people assume vitamin C deficiency, or scurvy, as it was historically known, is a disease of the past. Something sailors got on long voyages centuries ago. But mild to moderate vitamin C insufficiency is far more common today than people realize, particularly in older adults who live alone, who have reduced appetite, or whose diets have shifted away from fresh fruits and vegetables. And the gums are one of the first places that insufficiency shows itself. Vitamin C is absolutely essential for the production of collagen. Collagen is the structural protein that holds your gum tissue together, keeps it firm, keeps it attached to your teeth, and helps it repair itself after any minor injury. When vitamin C levels fall, collagen production slows down. Gum tissue becomes fragile. It bleeds more easily. It pulls away from teeth. And here is the part that concerns me, especially for older adults. When gum tissue starts pulling away from teeth, it creates small pockets. Those pockets become breeding grounds for bacteria, and that bacteria does not stay in your mouth. I had another patient, Gerald, 71, a retired engineer, who came in for something unrelated to his mouth entirely. He had been experiencing recurring low-grade inflammation that nobody had been able to fully explain. When we did a thorough nutritional assessment, his vitamin C levels were surprisingly low. He was not eating badly, but he was relying heavily on cooked and processed foods. And vitamin C is one of the most fragile nutrients there is. Heat destroys it. Storage degrades it. By the time Gerald was eating his meals, much of the vitamin C content had already been lost. His gums were bleeding regularly. He had been told to floss. Nobody had connected it to his vitamin C levels or to the systemic inflammation that was quietly building in his body. When we addressed the deficiency, things began to shift. Stay with me, because we are about to get to something that ties all of this together in a way most people have never heard explained. Another gum change that I want you to understand is swelling, puffiness, or gums that look inflamed even when you have been taking care of your teeth. Gum tissue that appears chronically swollen and red, especially if it does not improve with good oral hygiene, can sometimes point to vitamin D deficiency. Now, vitamin D is well known for its role in bone health and immune function, but what many people do not realize is that vitamin D also plays a direct role in regulating the inflammatory response in your gum tissue. It helps your immune system distinguish between normal bacteria in the mouth and harmful invaders. When vitamin D is low, the mouth's immune defenses become less precise. The gum tissue stays in a low-level state of inflammation almost constantly, and chronic inflammation in the mouth, over years, does not just damage teeth and gums. Research has increasingly linked persistent oral inflammation to elevated cardiovascular risk, to cognitive decline, and to complications with blood sugar regulation. Have you ever experienced that? Gums that just seem perpetually puffy, no matter how well you brush. It may be worth asking your doctor about your vitamin D status. And here is something that becomes even more significant after 60. your skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight declines significantly as you age. Older adults need more sun exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D that a younger person would produce in a fraction of the time. And if you are spending most of your time indoors, or if you live in a northern climate with limited winter sun, your levels may be lower than you think. This is one of those things I find myself saying over and over again in my practice, because it is so consistently underestimated. Now let us talk about a gum change that is a little different, and that I saved for this point in the video intentionally. Gums that are pulling back from teeth, what dentists call recession, combined with a sense that your teeth feel more sensitive than they used to. When this happens slowly over time, people often assume it is just aging, just wear and tear. And while gum recession can have mechanical causes, there is a nutritional dimension to this that almost nobody discusses. The nutrient I want you to think about here is magnesium. Magnesium plays a role in bone density, including the bone that anchors your teeth. When magnesium levels are insufficient over a long period, the bone supporting your teeth can begin to lose density. The gum tissue, which is attached to and supported by that bone, can begin to recede as the bone structure underneath it weakens. This is a slow process. It does not happen overnight, but it is the kind of quiet progression that, when people finally notice it, has already been building for years. Magnesium deficiency is remarkably common in older adults. Studies suggest that a significant portion of adults over 60 are not getting adequate magnesium from their diets. The reasons are multiple. Magnesium is depleted by many common medications, including certain diuretics and proton pump inhibitors. It is reduced by chronic stress. And the modern food supply, even a relatively healthy diet, often falls short of optimal magnesium levels because of changes in soil quality over decades. This becomes important in the broader picture of your health, and we will circle back to that in just a moment. Before we do, I want to come back to Margaret, the retired schoolteacher I mentioned earlier. When we reviewed her full nutritional profile, what we found was low B12, borderline low iron, and vitamin D levels that were well below optimal. We addressed each of these things systematically, with dietary adjustments, with targeted supplementation, and with a follow-up plan. 12 weeks later, Margaret came back and told me that not only had her fatigue significantly improved, but that her gums had stopped bleeding. They looked pinker than they had in years, and that her dentist at her next appointment had commented on the improvement without knowing what we had done. Her body had been trying to tell her something for months. The gums were the messenger. That is what I want you to take away from her story. Your gums are not just a dental concern. They are a communication system. And if you learn to read what they are telling you, you are ahead of most people your age. Now, I mentioned I would come back to why this matters beyond just your mouth. Here is the piece that ties everything together. Chronic nutritional deficiencies that manifest in the gums do not stay limited to the mouth. The same low vitamin C that causes fragile gum tissue also means your blood vessels are less resilient, your skin heals more slowly, your immune function is compromised. The same low vitamin D that drives gum inflammation is also associated with weaker immune responses, lower mood, higher risk of falls due to muscle weakness, and increasingly with markers of cardiovascular and metabolic disease. The same low magnesium that quietly erodes the bone around your teeth is also the magnesium your heart muscle depends on for proper rhythm, your brain depends on for neurotransmitter balance, and your cells depend on for hundreds of enzymatic processes. This is not just about gums. This is about your whole body, using your gums as a bulletin board to post messages it needs you to read. I want to ask you something. Take a moment the next time you brush your teeth and look at your gums in the mirror. Are they the healthy, consistent pink they should be? Or are they pale, or red, or swollen, or pulling away? Are they bleeding when they should not be? These are questions worth asking. And if the answer to any of them is yes, that is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to investigate. Now I would like to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, have you noticed any of these changes in your own gums, and did you ever connect it to something nutritional? I read these comments, and I find it valuable to understand what you are experiencing. The practical steps I recommend are these. First, do not dismiss gum changes as purely a dental problem. Mention them to your doctor as well as your dentist. Second, ask your doctor to run a comprehensive nutritional panel that includes B12, iron with ferritin, vitamin D, and magnesium. These are not exotic tests. They are standard blood work, and they can tell you an enormous amount. Third, look at your diet honestly. Are you eating fresh fruits and vegetables regularly? Are you getting adequate protein? Are you relying heavily on processed or highly cooked foods? Small dietary shifts, adding a handful of strawberries, incorporating more leafy greens, choosing foods rich in B12, such as eggs, fish, and dairy if tolerated, can begin to move the needle in the right direction. And fourth, if your levels come back low, work with your doctor to develop a supplementation plan that is appropriate for you individually. Supplementation without testing and guidance can sometimes create imbalances of its own, so do this with support. For the next 30 days, I want to challenge you to do one thing. Every morning, when you brush your teeth, spend 10 extra seconds looking at your gums before you brush. Note any changes. Write them down if it helps. And at the end of 30 days, share those observations with your doctor or dentist. You are not looking for perfection. You are building the habit of paying attention. That habit, over time, can catch things early that would otherwise be missed entirely. If this video gave you something useful, something you did not know before, please subscribe to Dr. Adam. My entire channel is built around giving you the kind of honest, practical health information that helps you stay ahead of problems rather than chasing them after they have already grown. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss what is coming next. In the next video, I'm going to talk about something that affects almost every adult over 60 and that is almost never discussed in the way it deserves to be. It involves your sleep, your muscle mass, and a hormonal shift that begins quietly in your 50s and accelerates through your 60s and 70s. It is one of the most important conversations I have had on this channel, and I do not want you to miss it. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness. The goal is understanding that your body, at every age, is constantly communicating with you. Your gums, your skin, your energy, your sleep, your digestion. These are not random inconveniences. They are signals. And the more fluent you become in reading those signals, the more power you have to protect your health, your independence, and your quality of life for the years ahead. You deserve that information, and you deserve to act on it.